This is That One Audition with Alyshia Ochse. Let's rock. Okay, so do you know that you were the fourth guest from when this podcast actually launched? You were.
I was going to ask you because in my mind, and this could not be more accurate. I was thinking I was the first guest, so you can see how I rounded up.
Okay, you know what? Because our memories are once you have a baby. You might have been the first person I interviewed with like all of the equipment, with like the intention of it being a podcast, because I was doing it as a book for 6 years. And then I was like, okay, we're doing this as a podcast. I think you were the first house that I stepped into. Yeah, because I released with you, Catherine Winnick, Damon, and there was a fourth one. But you, as listed, fourth episode released. But I think it might have been my first like recording with and sitting at somebody's house. And I went back and I listened to it this morning. Hilarious to hear. We did all of the like ground up. Like we did, so people need to go back. They can scroll through 530 episodes down to the
530?
Yeah. Yeah, dude. It's just, I mean, everybody, half of your cast from Animal Control is sat in the hot seat now. So this is kind of fun. So just for our audience, since you've been here, you've only done like, a solid 12, 20, 30, 40 projects. I'm just going to catch some people up. So Ravi Patel's Pursuit of Happiness, great documentary, loved this. Messy, Hot Mess Holiday, Justified, Three Women, loved seeing you pop up in this. This made my day. Ghost, which you ended up consulting producer. We're gonna have to ask questions about this. Animal Control. I mean, hello, showing up in Wonder Woman. The Long Short, Come As You Are, Butter. The list, it just goes on and on and on. And what I loved about our last conversation, where we kind of left it, it was like, I'm kind of going to start taking this job a little bit more seriously. I'm like, I'm really kind of starting to get into the craft of it all. This is a very kind of spiritual experience. But, your sister, you guys had already done the documentary, Meet the Patels. I want a full catch up. But the first thing I really want, which we didn't get in the first one, which I'll be so curious to see where your brain goes in this. What is that one audition for you? Because now you've done interviews, you've pitched shows, like it goes beyond just the audition room. Because I think a lot of times people listen to this podcast just as an actor, but it could be could be an actor. But you are now selling shows, you're now doing documentaries, you're writing, which you were already doing then, but I just feel like these lanes have now crystallized.
So this was probably 7, 8 years ago?
2017. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. 8 years ago.
When I was your first real guest with equipment. So therefore it makes me the first real, but whatever.
Exactly.
Man, what would be you mean like a process that was like, I'm putting myself out there and it was trying and.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, look at all these jobs I just mentioned and they do go across so many different lanes. So I was like, this is going to be wild because we never got into like an actual audition story.
Sure. So, okay, I'll tell you the one that comes to mind that was the most kind of trying and emblematic of this thing that we've thrust ourselves into. And I do remember some of that conversation because I remember we just had such a good conversation and we talked about everything. A couple years after you and I spoke, I got a call from CNN and they're like, hey, CNN wants to just meet you. And I thought it was just like a normal general meeting. I didn't know what it was for. I went in this room with just like a couple other people and we're just chatting. And they're asking me about my interests. I'm telling them how I think at the time I was really obsessed with neighborhoods. I had been going deep into research on American communities and how they've evolved. And I was telling them that how I really want to build my own community one day and all the things I would put in it. And I was telling them about all my wellness obsessions and just talking. And I talked about therapy and all these things. And then we just had a good conversation. Still no idea what this thing is about.
And you said it's for CNN, like
CNN. Yes.
Okay.
So I didn't know. I didn't really know. And they're like, we are just, trying to meet new people. We're trying to meet talent and, nothing really at stake here, but, we just we've always been fans of your documentary and, your name came up with it. And then at the end of the meeting, they said, hey, are you available to come in next week to meet with the president? And I said, of CNN. And I was like, yeah, I still don't really know what is going on. Okay. So her name is Amy Antelis, and I met with her. Very similar conversation, just more people in the room this time. And somewhere in the conversation, she's like, so, we're trying to meet new talent and we're trying to figure out, some new shows to build around them. And if I gave you 6 weeks and a $50,000 budget, do you think you could make some sort of a presentation of whatever you think your show would be for CNN? And I said, yeah, I can do that. And within 6 weeks, I went and I came up with the idea, and it was called Ravi Patel's Pursuit of Happiness. And that wasn't the title at the time. I still don't like that title. That was a title they chose. It's a horrible title, I think. But it was a show where at that point in my career, I had done 1 million pilots. I had come close to 1 million big opportunities. And while I'd gotten to a certain point, I'd never gotten past it. And so I was used to getting big opportunities and them essentially not going anywhere. And so I thought to myself, this is a really cool opportunity, whatever this is, but I know that likelier than not, it's going to fail in some way. So I'm going to come up with a show idea that I know I'm going to enjoy even when it fails. So I came up, that is going to be good for my life. And I will say, great experience when they say, we're done with this. Because that's what I'm fully expecting. I failed. We probably talked about this last time, like so many, done over like 20 pilots. And it's just like, so I was like, okay, I thought about, the idea was, I was like, oh, what if in every episode I'm with someone I love? So that way I'm not alone. I'm getting to have this experience with someone. We're traveling around the world. And each episode is essentially based upon a big question that I've talked about in therapy, that like a big question I have about life. And so it's a question that me and this person somehow share in some way. And every episode explores that question through the lens of some other culture and the way they treat that question. So that's where I came up with Ravi Patel's, what eventually became Ravi Patel's Pursuit of Happiness. And, the first episode was based on conversations in therapy where I told my therapist, I'm worried about my parents getting older and I've never been to a funeral before and aging with them. And what do we do in this next phase of life together? So the first episode of the show was my parents and I going to a retirement community in Mexico, and we're talking about retirement and aging. The second episode was about how to raise happy children with my wife. So my wife and I went to Japan, where they have really beautiful ways of raising kids. So that was the show. For the pilot, I just shot me and my parents at an Indian retirement community in the Bay. To this day, I think it's one of the best things I've ever made that no one will ever see. I was so proud of it.
I'm surprised your dad didn't put it out on Facebook. We talked about your dad so much in the last episode, and I love your dad so much.
He's still doing it. He'll never get a link to this thing. He'll never get a link to this thing because he would post it. But yeah, I was so proud of this thing. I made it. I worked my butt off. $50,000 is not much money, and 6 weeks is zero time. And I just crafted the hell out of it. I was so proud. And, I got a call, I think like a month later, a few weeks later. It wasn't that long. And I remember where I was standing in that kitchen that you were in when we did that podcast.
Yeah.
And it was Amy. And she said, hey, we loved what you did. Everyone loved it. And we have a slot opening up where Anthony Bourdain's show currently lives. And we'd like to order your show. And I just, I got off the phone and I just went to my wife, told her, and we hugged, and I started crying. And as we were holding each other, I guess I was just saying to herself while I was crying, I was just saying, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. And I think what I was meaning was that I'm so tired of this game. I'm so tired of trying to be in the major leagues and not feeling like I'm getting past first base. you know? And
Yes.
it felt like, oh my God, I think I may have finally hit a home run. And it was like the most incredible relief. And, I made the show. It wasn't everything I wanted it to be, but it was, I thought, good enough for a first season. I already knew I was going to do second season. I went to the upfronts for CNN in New York, and this was March of 2020. And they introduced me on the stage with Jeffrey Zucker and Anderson Cooper. We're all sitting on stage together at the upfronts for CNN. Like a crazy, insane moment. Backstage, they're telling me that they're already won a second season. And I'm sitting here thinking, oh my God, I think I had called someone, like I texted someone, I'm like, hey, we're going to start an unscripted company. I'm thinking like we have
Yes.
liftoff. I'm ready for
Yeah.
this. And the next morning, I was supposed to get on a plane to go to India to go finish filming a docu-series that I was filming in India, as well as a Netflix scripted series, the one called Messy that you referenced
Mhm.
earlier, that I had co-wrote and I started. And the the pandemic had hit really hard. The news was insane, and that morning it was so crazy where I basically called India and I said, I'm not going. This is not going to work. We're going to have to postpone everything. Things look crazy. And the world shut down. And about a month and a half after that, Amy called me and said, hey, these are unprecedented times. And we know that when something crazy is happening, that what our viewers want, and the only thing they want, is news. And so we're not going to be able to air any new series anytime soon. And she said, but I have good news. It turns out that there's our new streaming service, HBO Max, which hasn't launched yet, really wants your show. And I fell to my knees because I knew this was bad. I was like, oh my God, like, because it takes a lot to turn a show into a CNN show because it's everywhere in the world. There's a certain level of watering down you have to do to make it this broad, down to the title, Pursuit of Happiness. And I originally wanted something that felt like an HBO Max show, and I had to go
Yeah.
backwards to make it kind of broad. And then with the CNN show, they promote it. It's on CNN. They do a bunch of advertising. Anything on streaming, nobody promotes streaming shows. People
Nope.
have to find it. So I knew media well enough to know that CNN was the holy grail for anything. It's the most watched network in the world.
Hmm.
So I took it as bad news, and it proceeded to be bad news. Nobody saw it, and it went away. That was
I,
the worst audition.
I, I have so many things that I want to hit on. First of all, I'm so glad you shared that story because Ravi, when I was going through everything and from the last time when we talked and just watching you, my thought was, how the fuck is he doing all of this? How is he crossing from documentaries back to scripted, writing, doing stuff with his sister, throwing things down over here, now jumping in and doing reality shows himself? I was like, I need to know how his brain and how his day to day is working. Because that's the thing, too. I think as an actor, before it used to be like, you're a film actor, you're a television actor. Don't you
Do that
dare
anymore.
touch unscripted.
Yeah.
Don't you dare try laying over here.
Yeah.
And you have, out of the 500 people that I've talked to, have been one where there is no lane or lines or box for you. But I really like that story is devastating. But even if we go back to the first episode, every single time you've gotten an opportunity, it's kind of just been like a lob pass over where it's like, hey, by the way, do you want to try doing this? You're like, yeah, sure. And then it ends up being something, it moves the needle forward in some way, shape, or form, no matter however we look at it. But it's interesting to hear a story where you're like, well, I thought it was going to go here. I think as actors, performers, creators, you're always hoping, oh, this will be the project where I don't have to hustle so much anymore. And then I'm
Doesn't happen.
tired, and then here comes COVID. Honestly, choose whatever day you want. How are you doing your day to day? What gets your attention? How are you juggling doing animal control, flipping over doing certain movies here and there, and then you are working in unscripted now. You are doing certain things, like you are writing, directing. How are you doing it? Give me a day. Give me even a month. How you decide what takes your time. Who's scheduling? Is Mahaley doing like all the schedule? Like sincerely, how is this working?
Mahaley is very involved. So when we met, I had assistants, probably multiple. And that was a big part of, because I was also running a snack company around then. I used to really take pride in busyness. I think I liked how it made me look. I liked that people were like impressed by me. And, I think as I've become a father and just older, the thing that I value now is my time and my day, and really my time and my family and my friends. And so it's had a wild impact on the way I view work, which is, when we met, I was kind of a workaholic. I was in the middle of starting to shift that. I don't remember if we talked about this stuff, but I was trying to do more purposeful stuff, but I hadn't figured out how to reduce the volume of work. And I think COVID really slowed things down for me. But then more importantly, when we lost our daughter a couple years ago, 5 days after she was born, which you're aware, things completely just stopped. I stopped doing things. My real only focus at that time was, trying to get my health back and trying to be a husband and a father, just getting my wife out in the sun for a walk, little stupid wins every day. And that was it. And I think it kind of aligned really well with where I was already kind of intending to go, which was, I think when I turned 40, I feel like I woke up and I realized, oh, all this busyness is like so useless because it's tomorrow. And like I am missing a lot of todays as a result. And I wanted to figure out how to, I really wanted to figure out how to enjoy my day. And so, sorry, this is a really long answer. I could probably keep talking, but I struggle with focus. And I also struggle with doing too many things. I'm very ambitious. And I also have a great deal of delusion in terms of I generally feel I can do things that I probably shouldn't do. And so my to-do lists are never accurate. They're never fair. They're never correct. And so what has changed from then to now is my to-do lists are no longer just work. Every day I visit I have a little journal that I keep, and, it starts, I might write a sentence or two about whatever I'm feeling or whatever I'm thinking. And then, beneath it, I keep it going. Like, these are things that I need to do. These are things I need to think about. And then for that day, I will just say, these are 3 things that will make today great. And it used to just be work things. And now maybe one of those things is work. And one of them is take my daughter on a bike ride or cook dinner. It's like things that are really about like literally what would make today a great day. And the way it's impacted my work is I have started to get really busy again in the last 6 months. I have, basically after we have 2 babies, one 14-month-old. This is all in the aftermath of losing Sachi a couple of years ago. We were scrambling to get another baby. We got a surrogate, and then wife gets pregnant somewhere in there because of me, because I had sex with her. And hole in one, and she gets pregnant. And next thing you know, we have 2 babies 6 months apart. And it was crazy. Like when I'm sitting in the hospital, and when Kaya was born, the 14-month-old, I remember I had an idea for something and I wrote it down. I didn't really work on it. And then when Archie was born, the morning that she was born, I'm in the hospital and I started writing this thing. And it was like, and I look back, I'm like, oh, like everything like unlocked again. Like it's like, it was crazy. And I like, so then I had this idea for a musical, and like, it's something that I spent many months working on, and now I'm co-writing it with someone. And I think it's gonna be this beautiful thing. about Diwali and Christmas, and I've just gotten really busy since then. I'm back to developing. I'm filming a new documentary that's going to be kind of a Meet the Patel sequel. It's basically based on that first episode of Pursuit of Happiness with my parents. It's about longevity, retirement, aging. My parents are in it. Started filming that, and I went to this real estate grad program, and
I saw that and I was like, where does he have time for that?
yeah, it's too much. And so I'm doing some things in real estate now, and I've gotten really busy, but I work, I would say 30 hours or less a week. And I think I'm just as productive as I've ever been. And the difference is that when you give yourself less time, you force yourself to be more efficient. I'm really I'm more intense about what I don't do than what I do. So there's a lot of things that people normally would do that is probably the right thing to do in terms of like the way they work or collaborate that I don't do. I let a lot of things go unresponded. My wife, I don't have an assistant anymore, but my wife handled, she helps schedule, she puts things in my calendar. She, anytime I need anything, she jumps in, and she knows that organization is not my thing and organization is her thing. And she is just an incredible partner in a lot of ways, but that's a big one. And I also work I used to work with a level of desperation, which was good for me. And I still have a desperation. I'm at the peak of, I think, my professional life and my personal life right now. That's kind of the tricky part of middle age, I think, is all this shit happening at the same time. But I think I know what life is about. I think I know what matters. And so when I work, I'm working for efficiency and I work with purpose, but I'm not upset when I let myself down, which is almost every day. I rarely get I'm still bad at making to-do lists. I still don't get everything done that I think I can, but I almost always get the things that matter done. And, I think this is part of my experience in running a startup, which has been super helpful. When you have a startup, you always have more work than that, and everything seems to matter the most. And you get done with 10% of it every day. There's always more work than you have time. And I think that has been actually really helpful in this season of life because I have figured out a way to operate in chaos with poise.
Chaos with poise and 10%. Sometimes it's like, I love that book, Atomic Habits, where it's just like 1% better every day. Okay, well then because look, this is a podcast about acting, but when getting to talk I truly just believe when we start to focus more on our life outside of acting, that's when things kind of start to crystallize and work for work. Like in you saying, I only have 30 hours this week, or I only get 10% of it done.
The TV and film landscape, it's constantly changing, but traditional actor training has largely remained the same.
It's focused on a theater model whose main goal is to help you stretch the expression of your instrument. That's why you can have years of training,
From scene study classes to audition classes.
to even an MFA, and still not be able to book a 2-line co-star.
That's why we created The Bridge for Actors.
A collection of tech, craft, and business online courses to teach you the skills that you need to go from a student of acting
To a working actor.
I'm curious about animal control, because like our last episode, like you said, 20 failed pilots, doing this show maybe for a season, getting to the documentary for a season. Everything was kind of a one-off. I would love to know how animal control comes into your zeitgeist and why you think that's the thing that sticks. People have heard from various other of your castmates on that one. And then I want to parlay out to a couple other things that you're doing. Because look, it's a comedy, it's an ensemble. What could be better? Or so what every actor wants. The schedule is kind of the best.
Yeah.
But how does that come into your lane? Is that just an audition? Because I also want to know how you're handling auditions these days when you do have, okay, you're writing and you're getting inspired. You have your beautiful children going on. You never cared much about auditions to begin with. That's what I loved about your first episode so
First
much.
of all, I'm not auditioning at all. I wish I were. This is the most dead. It is crazy. I mean, I know it's happening to everyone, but I have never in my career had like, I literally couldn't tell you the last time I had an audition. It might be months. Now, obviously, the animal control of it really takes me out of a lot of stuff, but I haven't done anything outside of animal control as an actor I can't think of anything. Mahaley would probably remember sooner than me, but I don't think I've done anything in like 2 years. Like it's sad. It's crazy. It's scary. Part of the reason why I'm doing all these other things is because I have no reason to have any faith in having a career once animal control goes away. So I want to make sure that I have a way to make money whenever this goes away, because I just don't have any faith. And I mean, it's just terrifying and scary.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I talked to my team the other day and I was like, what's our game plan? And I think this is what we're all feeling. They're like, the actor for hire business is gone. You got to create your own stuff. There is no, we'd love to see you audition. No, they're going to be like, no, I saw so-and-so's documentary. I saw this. I want them in my show. That's exactly how it's happening. Or I need to make something so that's how we stay employed. So you getting to write, you doing the musical, you doing documentaries.
Yeah.
You will survive the collapse of whatever's happening right now because you've got your hands in so many other things. Yeah. But yeah, did animal control I hope so. I know I'm right there with you. I think everybody's listening is right there with you too.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Did animal control, was that from
So I got offered that. So I did a movie called The Valet that the same guys who wrote Animal Control wrote. And I was just like a supporting character. And I had been in a pilot of one of theirs many years ago. So we knew each other, but they loved me in the movie. And I, to be honest, wouldn't have known that that movie was anything special, nor my role. I wouldn't have known. But, you know, they had the show, I got the offer, and it was half of my quote, okay, what they offered me, half. Mm-hmm. And this is at a time when this was towards the tail end of the pandemic. The writing is on the wall in terms of what's happening to entertainment. And you were at that point, remember, there were already not many pilots. And I just said no. And Mahaley freaked out. She's like, well, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, you cannot turn down money, even if it's not what. And I'm like, look, this is so far beneath what I need to get paid. It's not even close to a reasonable amount. And the only way to negotiate an unreasonable number is by walking away. And I have one of my greatest regrets in my career is that I never walked away when I was hot. Like, there were times when I was like leads of pilots and I didn't have the balls to walk away. And so I only got a $2,500 or $5,000 raise when a lot of my bigger friends were jumping 20,000 at a time between pilots because they were at these big agencies and they were being told to walk away. You know, like, I just never knew to do that. And I was like, you know what, like, we live in Nashville now. Like, we're fine. And if you really, and I told my wife, I go, look, if you really want this to work out and you want more money, this is what we do. So I said no, and I was happy with it. I just done another failed pilot for CBS, which is my thing, as you know, already
great
discussed.
At it. Great at it.
Discussed, yeah. And they did pay my quote. So I'm like, you know, well, maybe we'll see. And then 3 weeks later, so I think this thing's gone because it's been 3 weeks. And we're at Disneyland, and I'm getting ready to get on an elevator from our hotel at Disney. And it's my agents. And they said they have come back around. They saw a bunch of people that didn't like them. Obviously, they weren't just sitting there for they like tried to.
They were trying to find a replacement. They can.
Yeah.
There's one and only of you. There's one and only.
And they offered me more money, which was about, I think, halfway between where we both wanted to be. And I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, like, I think this is great. If it goes to series, I'll be glad I did it. And I negotiated a little bump in season 2. And man, talk about the best decision ever
Yes.
made. And the first time, I mean, first time in my career that I've gone beyond one season, and of course I almost fucked it up again. And finally, and it happened at a time when during the entertainment apocalypse, and also at a time when I don't think I could have really sustained what my family has been through the last few years if I didn't have this show supporting me, financially, but also like, I love these people. Like, we're all super close. They're the best group of people I've ever worked with. Yeah, we are a family. Like, my family is actually close to them, like family. And yeah, I just feel it's just crazy. It's just that
You just
after all
never
these years,
know. Yeah,
huh?
you just never know. You never know what's going to be it. But I like that the one that was it was the one where you're like, no, this is the boundaries. This is what I want for it. And
Yeah,
it set it up beautifully. How did you start writing? How does Ghosts turn from a role into you consulting, producing, which is basically you writing? Yes?
yeah.
How
Yeah.
does that happen?
So I was the best man in one of the co-creators' weddings. So I'm like best friends with him. And so, they put me in the show as an actor. They actually wanted me to do it more, but I said no because it was just like not enough money. And I was like, I can't leave my family for like these 1-2 day guest stars. I just can't do it. I love you, but I can't do it. But he's kind of always trying to get me in the mix. And he had called me because they have an Indian lead in the show. And he's like, we want to get an Indian writer on the show so that we can write some Indian things. And so I had a movie in development at the time that was like about an Indian family. So I had just read every Indian writer in town, and I already obviously know a lot of them. So I gave him a list, and I don't remember what we were talking. And I think I said, I go, dude, I would love if there's a way to do it for me to consult. I was like, I don't think I can come there full time, but I would be so into consulting in a part-time capacity. And he was like, I'd love that. And yeah, I mean, they made it happen. It was pretty cool. It was fun.
No, that's incredible.
Yeah.
You're always firing in so many different lanes. And that's the thing. I just don't think you ever know. And as a creative, again, your lens and your vision goes far beyond what's just scripted or what's on the page. So now I want to know about Lego Masters Junior. My daughter is going to go crazy about this. How does this come into your lane? Now we know you have a beautiful family. You've got multiple kids. Are you trying to be more focused on doing kid-friendly content?
I'm sure you think of this too. Like I'm like, okay, I got a small window to be in things that I can enjoy with my family that my kid will be impressed by. That's how the Lego thing happened. I mean, I asked them if I could be in it because I think it's a cool show, and I knew that my daughter would be really impressed. And that was, I mean, I can't wait for you to watch it. Like, you guys are gonna have so much fun watching it. My daughter watched it with us. She was crying at the end, like in a good, happy cry, which I don't think I've ever seen her do, like certainly for Nothing I'm In. We had so much fun, and it was just, I don't know, the kids I'm with, you got to watch. They're so cute and funny. I mean, it was awesome. I grew up on Lego, so.
Yeah, I mean, that's what my daughter does. That's soothing to her. She said to me the other day, "Do you know, mommy, why I need to work with Legos or fidgets or stuff?" She's like, "I have so much energy in my hands." And I was like, what a wonderful thing to understand that she needs to
Yes.
be very. And I was like, great. That's wonderful. She just asked me this morning. She's like, can you ask school if I can bring some either Legos or fidgets to put in my desk so that while he's teaching, I can build something because I can hear better. I know. Isn't
Adorable.
that amazing? I just thought that was so
Oh,
fantastic. I
it
love
is.
that you asked. I talk about this on the podcast a lot. I reevaluate it constantly for myself. What is your why, or what is, like you said, you started writing a musical right now. That was inspirational to you. What is your why for what you choose to do and not do? Because again, like you said, it's a wide
Yeah.
open lane of so many things that you can
Yeah.
spend your time doing.
Yeah.
What helps you crystallize, this is where I'm going to go? Like, why do we decide special forces, world's toughest test is something that Ravi's going to go try and do now.
So I don't know that I've got the art down, but I can tell you what I think I'm doing. So there's kind of two buckets. There's making money, and then there's the ways that I want to spend my time. You know, I had a meeting with a bunch of the execs at Fox recently because I'm desperately trying to get into hosting. And so that's one of the reasons.
That's where the money is, the hosting of the games.
Yeah, and it's another reason why I'm doing all these things, is because I'm trying to get more on camera as myself. And so, you know, we had this great meeting and they were talking about all these projects, whatever. And they're like, so what do you like, what would be like the perfect thing for you? Like, what do you want to do? And I said, I can tell you exactly what that is. I want to make as much money in as little time as possible. Yes. That's the show I want to do. That's the job I want. And they laughed, but I'm like, I'm being serious. I'm like, that's why we're here. I'm like, look, I have a ton of interests. I'm happy to share them with you, but really, I just want to make as much money in as little time as possible. So there's that bucket. And acting, to be honest, is kind of that as well for me. If I'm lucky, it's like animal control, and it's actually like a great environment and I get to enjoy it. Acting is something that I only do because I get paid. I wouldn't do it for free, which I know most actors have a different answer than that. But, you know, and then
That's always been your answer. Even in our first interview, even how you landed into this, people have to go listen to that first interview because there's no need to retouch on it. How you've kind of even landed in this lane, you've always said that. There's some people that like dream of this career from the get-go, and how you kind of landed in it and have made it.
I know, I feel bad. I feel like an asshole sometimes and I every now and then I'll have a moment where I'm like, I need to figure out a way to be more grateful that I'm an actor and be be more excited for it, because you have to be excited and grateful in order to do well at it. And I try to keep reinvigorating myself to do those things, but it's ultimately for me, it's just a job. And, you know, I do get excited about being good at my job. And, you know, I'm, for example, like, you know, I've spent a lot more time. I'm about to start filming the season. I started like writing in my journal of like things I want to try out process wise. I'm always experimenting with process. So like, I love mastery. I love hard work. I love doing well, but that is still just really more an achievement professionally than something that I would just like, I would never do acting for free. I just wouldn't. And so there's that. And then what I do with everything else is I kind of just think about things that I want to do that would be an incredible experience, either because it's something like it's a unique learning experience for me, or it could create some sort of fun experience with my family and or friends. You know, the musical is an example where I went to a musical with my daughter. I don't want her to be an actress, no offense, but she's at an age where this is when everyone does that stuff. And I thought, you know, I'm in a unique position where I work in entertainment. I could like write a play for her. We could be in a play together, and this is the age to do it. And wouldn't that be a crazy missed opportunity if I didn't? And then I also noticed that there aren't any plays, like Diwali, for whatever reason, is not really popularized in this country, despite Indians being at the forefront of every other facet of our country, you know. And so I thought, oh, there's also like a market for this thing. And I really struggle to imbue Indian culture into my fairly Americanized Indian family. So this was just like, I'm like, oh, this would be a fun play to put up, and it could be a public service to all Indian Americans. And ultimately the themes are about outsiders who love Christmas that aren't a part of it, that feel like, you know, that's an example, right? And, you know, this will be something that it'll be fun as hell for Amelie and I. We'll get to be in it together. It'll also be an experience to put a play together. It'll be a musical. It'll be a public service. It'll be good for the community. And I also think if it's any good, that it will be a movie or something like that. You know, my buddy who I'm co-writing, who I brought in to co-write with me, is very funny. He's one of my best friends. So we get to go on this journey together. And he's one of the top, you know, music producers in the world. And so he's also just a badass musician who knows how to do all this shit. So like, there's just, that is a perfect example of like something I'm trying to, or like the real estate stuff. I'm just really interested in creating spaces The
Yep.
nexus between
Is it still the idea of creating a community that everybody can come and kind of live in?
it's kind of premised on that. It's basically a private school that here in Nashville, where there's a shortage of private schools, that is a modernized school with that's kind of all modern modalities, so that kids don't necessarily always need to be in the classroom and they can travel with their parents, just like work has become kind of hybrid. School can be as well without kids missing it. And then there's kind of all these other facets to it. So in addition to a school, there's an elder community that lives on the campus, and they are part of the school. There's a micro farm, and there's basically a country club, and all these kind of all this programming synergizes with each other. And it's really about intergenerational learning environment and teaching kids not just what you need to teach them, but how to, live a happy life. And the name of it is The Village.
I love this. This was already, everything is intergenerational. That anytime that we have talked, it's always been family centric, what you've learned from your family allowing yourself to be on display and meet the Patels, your sister just having a camera and being like, let's just see. You always find, though, the strain that I think affects all families or affects all interdynamics. And that, I think, has always been your skill set. And I love it. I love watching it in your work. I love hearing the stories of how things kind of inspire you to do certain things, even from the bar business. What was that called?
This bar saves lives.
This bar saves lives. There's something in your brain that allows you to be open to, we can all get hits and inspiration. Yeah. You just have the ability to actually make it happen. And that's what I think a lot of actors that are listening to this right now, they're yearning for something, right? Or they're like, oh, I want to get that part to do this. I really love the mindset of, oh, no, that's a job. That part can help me kind of do these other things. Like when I talked to Melon Ackerman, that was her basis of everything. Acting's just a job. It'll help me be able to build this community over here or be able to sustain this business that I'm doing here. It's sometimes having an altruistic viewpoint of this allows the work to come and go as it is. That's
so kind of you to frame it that way. I appreciate all the compliments. I think it's a little misleading though, because I'm not as, I feel like you framed it in a way where I'm like this well-oiled machine of success. And the truth is that I'm highly imperfect in process. My wife will attest to that. I can be really inefficient. I make a ton of mistakes. And like for every one thing that rises up, there were probably 15 things that didn't. Like my full process of the way I like even figure out what to do is I keep a Google Doc, and it is insane. I write my eulogy every year or two. I write my own eulogy so that I remember what I want my life to be about. And then I write down what my mission is in life. And I write down, I say, this is what I want to achieve in my life. This is what and then it comes down to, this is what I want the next year or 5 years to look like. I redo that every year or to 2 years. And then I'd say a year to 18 months. And then I have this list that kind of looks like a development slate of just ideas. Like I'll wake up in the morning, I just add, it might be a movie idea. It might be something really fun that I want to build. And I just did this, I'm going to build a playground around our tree in our backyard, like with the tree house, so I write that down. Okay. So all these ideas go in one place. And then as I add to them, I go back to those places. And then over time, I start working on some more than others. And then at some point, some of those rise above, like the reason why I told you about that big business plan that I make for my life is because I keep a development slate of like, these are the things that I want to accomplish in the next year or two. And so while there's all these other ideas floating around, there's things that I am working on actively where I'm like, this is the priority, then this is the priority, then this is the priority. And I'm so bad at it. I know it sounds like I'm great at it because you hear all these wins. Anyone who like Mahaley would tell you if she were here, like I struggle so often with focus and, getting to where I want to go, especially because I tend to spread myself thin. I have so many ideas. But what happens is I work really hard. And I take so many swings and I keep going and going and going. And then, I might have a list of these three things that matter. And then over time, something here might shoot up. And I'm like, okay, well, now that goes here and this goes down. And so that's kind of like, I just want to make sure that anyone who's listening to this doesn't feel like what I'm doing is some unattainable gift. That like, this is something that I think the way I approach things, I think is the way anyone can approach things. It's just like keep
It's just that
grinding.
you're doing it. I just like that your brain doesn't go, well, that's a dumb idea. I'm not going to make a playground around this tree.
No, I wish my brain did more of that because it can be a little
No,
exhausting.
no,
This is
because
the
we get
delusion I was telling you about. I really just have ideas. Like one of the things that's on my list that's really embarrassing, I was just telling my buddy, because he used to play in the NFL, we were having lunch just now. And I was like, one of the dreams on my list is to be an NFL GM. It's still on there.
I can't wait till you get a role to do that. You know that somehow, some way, you're going to either get that and they're going to have a camera following you around and it's going to be a documentary, or
Always monetize. Yeah.
one day at doing this and it'll be a great script.
Oh my God.
But I just think that you might not know the derivatives of your ideas, but your ideas parlay themselves into some sort of creative outlet. If people go back and listen to the first one, there's some idea that you always get that's outside of the box. For example, making a stick figure as your headshot. No actor would have the balls to do that. And you did it. And
Wow,
not
I haven't
because
thought
you
about
wanted
that in so long.
but not because you wanted the job, because you're just like, well, whatever, here's what I don't have it. Here it is.
Oh my God.
So that's why I like the way your brain works. It's truly a creative brain. And you're right. 80% of it might not come to fruition,
Yeah.
but it's a train that's moving forward. And that's what I think I was so excited to talk to you again, because I was like, what's he doing now? Where has his brain landed him? So I'll be remiss because my audience will be so pissed that I didn't ask you this, since it is an acting podcast and since you are going back for fourth season of Animal Control and you're like, I'm exploring different ideas that I want to do. What's that process look like for you right now? You're returning to a character. This will be your fourth season. What are some of the processes or like some of the ideas? Because we just learned how your brain works on the day to day. I love this idea of the eulogy. What are you integrating for yourself as an actor or for the character that
Sure,
somebody
yeah.
can tangibly kind of like work with for their own building?
So I'll start by saying like the thing I worked most on the first, I would say 2, 3 seasons was, I've always felt shame about not having the same process as other actors. So most actors I know, they prepare by, well, preparing like a lot, like, knowing the scenes inside and out, marking them, like rehearsing and just like, it's in them and they kind of know how they're going to say it too, and I even like, Joel, who is, obviously an incredible actor, also has, not shockingly, an unbelievable work ethic. He has an iPad, and if you use, I can't remember what it is, script notes, is that it? There's something where you can highlight where your character is and you would take notes on the iPad, whatever. So I bought an iPad, I got the little iPad pen, I got that app, and I'm like, I'm going to try it Joel's way, because my process has always been to read it few times, make sure I know it enough, but not perfectly. And then I do whatever happens in that moment. I improvise a lot and I also make a lot of mistakes. And, it like comes off as unprofessional, but it's also like what's always worked for me. And even my actors,
Instincts are just really sharp.
and then,
Sometimes
yeah, but all my friends, and you can ask guys in animal control, they'll tell you like I, mess up the most. And, so I was like, I always have carried shame about the way I do it. So I'm always trying to see if there was a better way to do it. So I did it Joel's way, and it just felt so stiff to me. It took a lot. First of all, just the work was a lot. I'm like, man, people are working. This is exhausting to do it the way that they do it. And I'm not even talking as much as Joel. Like, I'm like, what is it? Well, this is nuts. I'm like, no wonder he's always so busy. And then the product was not better. It was a little more stifled, and it felt, I don't know. I didn't feel free. And so then I went back to kind of a combined version of it because what I don't like doing is slowing people down. And I don't like seeming like I don't give a fuck. That feels disrespectful. And I come off that way, I think, often because the other thing is when I'm on set, I'm not the way I am in like a professional business setting. I could not be further from that. I come off like a guy who you couldn't count on to accomplish like getting you a cup of water. Like I am so playful and ADD and just screwing around like a little child. And so when you couple that with like flubbing the script, it just looks like you look like a jackass. So now I've kind of split the difference where I make sure that I'm not going to, like, I know everything really well, but I try to do it in a way where I don't know it too well. And I certainly haven't made any decisions. And that was good. I think they would say that I've gotten better, but what it's come at the expense of for me is like what people end up ultimately liking about me and what makes me enjoy acting is essentially spontaneous improvised moments, not necessarily ad libs. It could be physical improvisation, but moments that are unpredictable. And for me, that happens when I'm just so present, but at the same time unaware of anticipating anything. And so now what I'm thinking about right now is, okay, how do I take the ways which I've moved forward while also going back to like in the first season, I improvised a shitload and a lot of it ended up in the show. And it was stuff that I had no idea would happen, like it was stuff where I, surprised myself. And so what I'm thinking on a lot now is, okay, is there a way to still be that version of myself that I enjoy while still feeling like I'm kind of a professional? I don't know the answer yet, but what I was thinking last night was, well, maybe I can treat it like the way I used to treat auditions, which was I would script improvisational moments, and make them look. And I'm like, it's not as fun for me to do it that way, but this show shoots so fast.
Yeah.
And improvising in a network show is really a different art form from improvising in like what I would say is like a comedy person's comedy show, like I don't want to say a real comedy, but like a comedian's comedy, you can just let it rip, there's.
And everybody knows how to anticipate that. I asked that of Vella and I was like, look, everybody around you, including yourself, are such good comedic improvers. How are you guys getting the day? She was like, we actually stick to the script way more than you think. And I was like, oh, interesting. But
Yeah. And this is a show where they really, you just can't afford to do much improvisation. They love the script. They want the script. I still gone away from it. Joel does often too. But if you really want something that's usable, which is what's going to make it worthwhile to have taken so long, it has to be like a button. It has to be, if it's going to be a beat, it has to replace another beat. You have to be thinking about the edit while you're doing it because the show is edited, I don't know, like a network sitcom, like the pace doesn't change. So if you want to get in that, you have to either replace something, okay? And that something is either a small moment or it's a big chunk. And the only other way beyond that is throw a little something on the end of a moment and hope that they create space for it by doing something else. But that you can't go on, like we'll have people come on our show and they're hilarious and they'll go on like 1 minute, 2 minute, and it's like everyone's dying on set. And, I'm sitting there thinking, this is a waste of time.
Mm-hmm. It truly, and money. So especially I feel like for guest stars too, that's like, you have to know what house you're in, right? You guys.
Yeah, you have to know. Yeah. And so that's why you can see why it's like, because I don't even like doing this kind of comedy. Like I like doing unhinged where I can do that 1 minute thing. I like that.
Well, films, that's where you've like, I
You do
think
that in
also
films.
really excelled is like in a lot of the films that you've gotten hired for, it's because of your improv in the audition. It's because of your improv
Yeah,
on
and
set that goes
yeah,
to the
and there's
next.
some like the comedy people's comedy shows. And I don't know how else to explain it, but there's like some people who are comedy people. I don't know, not like obviously all these people are comedy people and they're brilliant at what they do, but I mean like
It's not in the network formula where you got to get to a commercial.
network formula is
It's
its
like,
own. It's a just a tight yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure
that's
out
what you're
is
working with right
how to
now.
be me and be this other person at the same time.
Well, you know what I love too, that you're still exploring different ways, even though the acting is a job. I love that even in our last conversation too, at the end of it, you were even saying like, I want to get more into understanding this or understanding the craft. You still give it time and attention, Ravi. You still sit down and you're like, how can I make that? What can I do this season? Again, I like the way your brain works. I know you're
Well,
kind of,
that's work ethic though. Don't mistake
yes,
that for interest. That is the
that's true.
desperation of success. Like I support a wife and 3 kids and they're all useless. So like I have to do, it really is. I mean, no, look, I am desperate to make a living. We all are. But I also, I think, I enjoy taking an athletic approach to life, and that includes work. Like, that to me is more fun than any one thing, is just like trying to figure out how to win. And I think also like, I think I have like probably an underdog thing about me that is embedded in me, and I don't know why, but I don't
It's
know. I have a chip on my shoulder where I just always want to like,
No, I'd rather be that than the other one who's always been given everything and doesn't understand how to make anything happen. Are
that's
you
true.
you're not allowed to tell us where you land in special forces, how some of those challenges were, or what you ended up doing. Speaking
I
of
can I can tell
being
you
under.
that you should absolutely watch it. It was bananas. It was bananas. Like the craziest thing, it was not TV. There was no snack breaks. There were no snacks. The snacks were a problem. Like it was not like a normal set. There were no bread. You were doing the show even when they weren't doing the show. We're living in tents in like dirt floor. You got a little bat box with your little metal pail, and you have to wash it. And it's gross. And you're eating army food. You never know when they're going to wake you up to do something crazy. You're jumping out of helicopters, crawling through dark tunnels, and getting stuck. And like it blood everywhere. So unsafe. So unsafe. People are getting hurt. And, there's hand-to-hand combat. It was insane. And one of the best things I've ever done. I had so much fun. We, like 7 of the 20 people by coincidence live in Nashville. We all just did a podcast about it this morning. We've all become so close.
Do we
And
have an announcement or do we have a date for this when this is coming out? Because I also
yeah,
think you under pressure in the comedic timing that you're going to give a lot of relief in this. So after everything we just talked about, instincts and just being in the moment.
yeah, I'm so worried about how I'm going to look in this thing because I kept forgetting that we were mic'd 24/7. But I think it comes out on September 25th. It comes out really soon.
Okay.
So,
Well, we still
yeah,
get to see you
wow.
in so many capacities. Thank you for not having an ego. Like some actors are like, I'm not doing that. Are you kidding? Absolutely. We just need more of you. Like you said, all the
Well,
lanes fired.
everyone told me not to do it because they were worried that, and I'm like, first of all, like I'm 46, whatever brand we're worried about, like it's gone. They're like, these things, because one person who will rename a name, multiple people were like, if you're an actor and you do something like that, you're kind of a has-been. And I'm like, I maybe I was a never was. I was like, I'm 46. Like, I was like, this is
No.
cool. I want to do it. And also, I don't give a fuck about that stuff. Like, I do what I want to do. And
Mhm.
it's just not, I don't think it's going to change whether or not I'm in a Marvel movie because I'm not going to be in a fucking Marvel movie. I'm not in one now. And
We don't know. Look at the early parts of your career where certain people saw stuff and then they wanted you over there. We don't know. There are no rules to this acting
hey,
business anymore. They're
I
all
got I
gone.
got shredded. So maybe now
There
I'm
we
up
go. Marvel,
for
I
it.
can't wait. I mean, when people say stuff here, it usually happens. So just, come back next year when you're in 2 years
God,
after
I
you
hope
shoot the
you're right.
Marvel.
I hope you're right. Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
It's just good to see you and really hear how you're even more so how your brain functions at this point in your career. 46 is a great year. You've got a lot of things, honestly, firing. I've never worried that I'm not going to see you somewhere in some way, making us laugh, educating us about something. Thank you. Like, just thank you.
You're just so sweet, and wow, I feel like we should talk here. You really have made me feel great about myself. You really know how to shine a light. Thank you so much.
What are you talking about?
You're a
Look at
lovely
the
human being.
things.
You have the best vibe. You also have not aged at all, which is concerning.
There's a light on me. There's a light that blows it all out. Don't let it fool you. You still show me Ravi Patel at.
That's right. Show me the Ravi.
Show me the Ravi. Show me the Ravi.
Yeah, that's where it comes from. Yeah, just a nice dated Jerry Maguire reference, which turns out it's still a great movie.
Still a great movie. Still a great movie. I'm excited for Animal Control to come back. Thanks for coming and sitting here again and
So good to see you again. You're the fucking best.